Recognize the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gaetz.
Mr. Williams, wouldn't the American people feel like this government wasn't so weaponized against them if there wasn't such a revolving door between Department of Justice senior officials and lobbying?
I don't quite follow the premise of your question, sir.
It's pretty easy. There's a revolving door between senior officials at the DOJ and the lobbying profession. Do you think that that gives the public more or less trust?
There are rules governing what employment, and this is based on my understanding, I've been government for 15 years, governing what post-government employment can be. One, what individuals' actions can be once they're employed elsewhere, but also what they're allowed to do.
Lobbying is influence peddling, and you are the principal at the Raben Group, which is a lobbying firm. And I would observe the reporting of Project Veritas, where Jordan Tristan Walker, who's a director of research and development, said on a recording, one of the things we're exploring is like, why don't we just manipulate COVID ourselves, mutate COVID via directed evolution? Pfizer is a revolving door for all government officials. It's pretty good for industry, to be honest. It's bad for everyone else in America. Pfizer is one of the clients of the lobbying firm that you're a principal of, isn't it?
I do not represent Pfizer. I do not know, sir.
You're a principal of the Raben Group, right?
No, that is correct.
Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the clients of the Raben Group, which include Pfizer.
Without objection.
Not just Pfizer, but Google as well. And in response to the Twitter files, we saw a statement come from the FBI where they said correspondence between the FBI and Twitter show nothing more than examples of our traditional, long-standing, and ongoing federal government and private sector engagements. Are there such engagements between the FBI and Google?
When you say such engagements, sir, I don't quite
Does Google engage with the FBI, Mr. Williams?
I don't work for either Google or the FBI, sir.
I'd have to again point you to your own client list that you advertise on your own website, which includes Google. Does it surprise you that at the Raben Group's website, Pfizer and Google are clients?
It does not surprise me, sir, no.
The Soros-funded Open Society is one of the clients as well. Does that surprise you?
Sir, I don't have our client list in front of me right now. I will, assuming that's what it says, I will take your word for it.
Yeah, I would think that maybe one of the legislative initiatives we could pursue would be to tighten this revolving door that folks at Pfizer and folks at Big Tech seem to freely acknowledge, in which you seem to be the incarnate of the revolving door. Mr. Baker and Ms. Parker, I want to assure you both that we come not to trash the FBI, but to rescue the FBI from political capture. And it seems as though that political capture was really enhanced when Robert Mueller took a lot of the authority and power away from the field offices all over our country and centralized that power. Mr. Baker, do you believe that through legislation we might be able to restore the system of office origin, where events occur, people are able to conduct investigations in the absence of the influences of Washington, D.C.?
There's no doubt Congress can be an advocate. You're doing a lot of good by having these hearings, this panel. A lot of these things, though, have to be done internally by the DOJ and the FBI. But there's absolutely a role for Congress, looking at the abuses of Pfizer for one, the abuses of the unmasking for another, the abuses of the indirect targeting, which actually the CIA and the NSA do rather than the FBI. But these are all things Congress can legislate solutions to.
And it seems as though those abuses become more acute the greater they have a geographic proximity to Washington, D.C. Seems we don't see these abuses with the brave FBI agents like Ms. Parker, who I'm very grateful served my fellow Floridians in the Miami field office. Ms. Parker, if we got the decision-making more out of Washington, D.C. and into the hands of our field offices where we have so many patriotic and brave FBI officials, do you think we'd be able to escape this political capture that quite literally drove you out of the Bureau?
I think that's absolutely critical at this point in our American history. What I mentioned in the opening statement is if there are two FBIs, we in the FBI see it as the field offices, the standard rank and file. We are typically the agents who just came to the FBI to serve the country, protect American citizens, fight crime. We have no interest in politics. We really have no interest in promoting many times. And then FBI 2 is kind of more individuals that are at the headquarters level and
Well,
sometimes executive roles.
It seems as though that politics isn't out in the field offices, it's here in Washington, D.C., and that's precisely what we ought to deconstruct legislatively. I thank the witnesses and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.